Here's a weird news story for you. A New York fertility doctor who secretly used his own sperm to impregnate multiple patients crashed to his death last week when the homemade airplane he was in fell apart mid-flight. That is not a fun way to go. Who is building their own planes? Dr. Morris Wortman, that's who. From flight to fertilization, this DIY doctor wanted everything handcrafted. Morris Wortman, which sounds like the name of a villain at Hogwarts, is accused of using his own sperm to inseminate women who came to him for fertility treatment throughout the 1980s. This man is a serial sperm donor. He's an ejaculation enthusiast who enjoys cosplaying as a pilot in the rare instance that his hands are actually free. Serial sperm donor and aviation aficionado. That is quite the resume you got there, Morris. Quite the resume. Look at him. Look at that big, beautiful bag of milk right there. It looks like Mr. Spock inseminated Jeff Bezos, doesn't it? Morris Wortman was a passenger in the handmade aircraft, which was piloted by his good friend Earl Luce Jr. The report states that the wings of the aircraft became detached from the fuselage and crashed into an orchard. So the wings fell off. They came right off. Now that sounds like a structural flaw to me, doesn't it? As I understand it, the wings are a fairly integral part of the airplane. You know, perhaps Morris should have used a little more of that special homemade glue to secure those things on there, right? The faulty aircraft was a Wortman W5 Buttercup. It was constructed by Earl Luce Jr. at his home. Now, I know what you're thinking. You too want to fly a plane, don't you? Well, thank God you're in luck, because Earl actually sells blueprints of the W5 Buttercup plane online for about $300. So for a measly 300 bones, you too can get the blueprints to build your own plane and subsequently die in a fiery wreck. Isn't that nice? Parts sold separately, of course, but you can get the blueprints. You too can take to the skies in your own machine and gamble with your life and that of your passengers, assuming they have enough brain rot to step inside your homemade suicide machine. Take a chance. See how it goes. What's the worst that can happen? No thank you. Now, Morris Wortman was a total monster, okay? 2 years ago, he was sued by the daughter of one of his former patients who was inseminated at his clinic. The lawsuit says that the doctor used his own sperm instead of the sperm of the approved donor. Now, I've never been to a fertility clinic, but that seems like a big no-no, right? You can't just be sneaking your seed in there. The man was a dirty old seed sneaker. The donor selection process needs to be a bit more rigorous than simply grabbing the horniest scientist in the sperm lab and having him jay off into a beaker, right? Can't just be grabbing anyone on the floor, janitor walking by. Hey Gary, you got a minute? You look oddly aroused for some reason. Quite frankly, it's frightening the sperm recipient, so let's kill two birds with one bone here and have you provide a sample for Mrs. Doherty, will you? You know, she's hoping for twins now, so don't hold back. That's not how this process works. That's not how any of this works, Morris. And as if planting your seed into unknowing patients isn't disturbing enough, the woman who sued Wortman, Morgan Hellquist, was a gynecological patient of his when she learned via DNA testing that he was her genetic father, okay? Hellquist claims that Wortman knew he was her biological father, but continued to see her as her gynecologist. So, if you still needed a reason to not feel bad about creepier Mr. Clean's airplane accident, there's the incestual icing on the cake for you, right? I mean, call me old-fashioned, but I believe there needs to be, some separation between father and gynecologist. This isn't rural Alabama. This is a medical clinic. Hellquist's DNA genealogy tests revealed that she had at least 9 half-siblings. Wortman told her parents that the sperm donor was a medical student. Far from it. In other cases, Wortman told patients that he was mixing the sperm from a husband with other sperm to help boost fertility. In none of these cases did Wortman reveal he was using his own sperm. Of course he didn't. Of course he didn't. Why would he? He didn't want to tell the mothers that their child was going to come out looking like a cross between Dobby the house elf and one of the orcs from Lord of the Ring. No one would want that. So when he wasn't in the cockpit of makeshift airplanes, it seems like Morris spent most of his time in his jizz laboratory mixing up a dirty cauldron of cum with his own ingredients. Disgusting. He was either handling his own decrepit joystick or the one in Earl's cabin. Flight and insemination fraud. Two wonderful hobbies you got there, Morris. Job well done. What did he want to do with his time on this earth? Morris wanted to repopulate the world with his own seed and take experimental flights. That's all. Dr. Morris Wortman, a demented cross between Amelia Earhart and Genghis Khan. Good riddance.